Hello, everyone. Today I'm taking a look at Max Payne 3. This one kind of surprised me a little bit, simply because I think it might actually be my favorite, and I did not expect a semi-soft reboot of a game that's over a decade old would actually be my favorite, but I really did enjoy this game, at least in some aspects of it. Really, it was a tie between 1 and 3 for me, and I think this one is just slightly better than 1 in some cases, just honestly in terms of gameplay and things like that. Um, so what's interesting about in this game is that we have Max, and it's not done by Remedy, I believe. It's just Rockstar this time. And I don't know, my feeling on this game is this is the most Xbox 360 game imaginable. You have like some guy who's on drugs and alcohol, hates his life, but he can do bullet time and he's so cool. And it's much more realistic now. So there's a higher level of realism. There's no goofiness or no, like the guy in the clown suit in the second game. There's none of that. It's all very serious. There's no light moments or happy moments. It's just serious and kind of a little bit depressing, honestly, all the way through. But what I really do like about Max Payne 3 is the pacing. The pacing from the very start just goes, how he says it went from totally fine to totally effed up in a hot minute is exactly the pacing that just keeps going through the first half of the disc. And I guess my only regret and issue is that maybe appropriately is that the pacing does kind of die down and take a back seat once you hit disc 2 or the in the middle of the second act. There's 3 acts, and it's like sometime after the second act when he shaves his head and he goes to Brazil. Then it kind of like tones down and kind of reels in a bit, and then it's a little bit kind of all over the place where you still have more flashbacks back to Jersey, as well as I'm not really sure what happened in the second half of the story. To be honest with you, I kind of knew and suspected that the family that had hired you was actually in on it, and they're kind of out to get you. But then there was this whole thing where the police were in on it, and you had to go after the police, and also this giant, drug uh, building basically in the downtown of Sao Paulo. So I forgot the capital of Brazil. That's not Rio. Um, and then you have like this one cop who's helping you, and then there's a bunch of corrupt cops. And then it turns out, of course, that Victor has been the one who's paying you to screw up everything, and so you take him out at the end. And I do have to admit, I've heard some really positive things, but that final airport sequence is really really good, and I kind of wish it's a little bittersweet, and I think they kind of messed up a little bit like Sonic Adventure DX, of all weird things to reference, where in Sonic Adventure DX what happens is at the very end boss, the first phase of the boss is Open Your Heart, the main theme of the game, which makes sense. And then the second phase is like some generic monster music that doesn't make the stakes feel any higher at all. And so in this one, you have this really great song come in. I think it's called Hurt, or it's one of the songs, like a lyrical song, come in as you're going through this main airport sequence, and it's really really cool, and I really like it. I just wish it kept going until the final kind of part of the game, and you have 2 more parts left. You have a boss fight in an airport hangar where you have to take out a guy with a grenade launcher, and then the very last kind of semi-interactive, I mean it is fully interactive sequences when you have a grenade launcher out the top of a car and you're shooting at cars and jeeps and stuff going by and trying to take down this guy's plane and get him arrested. And that's a really great sequence as well, but I just wish the music was carried through. And actually on that point, I will say that for the rest of the game, at least the first half, Max Payne 3 has a very interesting soundtrack, and I want to go back and maybe analyze it just a little bit when I listen to the OST, because I mean right off from the bat on the main menu, I mean this is the other thing. So honestly, what Max Payne 3 really stands out to me is something I'd never expect, which is sound design. When you press A and B, like those sounds on the main menu are so crisp. There's the menu in Max Payne 3. It's not anything visually interesting, but pressing the buttons and having that audio feedback, I don't know how to describe it. It feels like a really amazing menu. It's just really crisp how everything feeds back to itself. maybe I'm just used to playing modern menus where they're all kind of transparency, uh, squares with no real character or soul. This one really felt like something. It had attitude, it had a theme, it had a heartbeat essentially. And for a 2012 game, this was kind of like the tail end of those kinds of experiences where they actually delivered a really great overall experience. It's not just, oh, this is a fun game to play, but no, I want you to feel something. I want you to feel Max's character. And they did kind of get that in here. There were actually a few very funny lines, like in the stadium where Paso, whatever, calls him a professional button pusher. He's like, see, you're a pro. That's pretty funny. My favorite line, though, is when the Brazilian police or special forces are raiding the favelas, and they're basically just executing the gang members on the spot. And he makes the line that says, yeah, man, geez, these guys make the NYPD look like the Hare Krishna. Like, I was laughing for a good minute after that. I was like, I mean, one thing I love in games is when writing is done really well. And that's one thing where I feel the writing isn't quite as strong as maybe Max Payne 1, but it has its moments where it shines here and there. And overall, just the way that each chapter is worded, like I think the second last level is called an old fat bald guy with a gun and anger issues. That's literally the name of it because that's what he called himself. Yeah. I also really admire the dedication to Brazil as a location. I thought, okay, it's going to start with Max going to Brazil and then somewhere else. No, they just stay in Brazil and Sao Paulo mostly for the whole game. There are flashbacks to New York, so that, I mean, that kind of counts. But it was really dedicated to just staying in South America, in Brazil, and having the whole story focused on that one location, which I kind of appreciate. Of course, there are different areas. You go to the favelas, you go to high-end security places, you go to a police station and a prison, you go to an abandoned building or whatever, just as if it was a game taking place in America. You have a variety of places, but still based in Brazil. And there's a lot of Portuguese spoken throughout the game. So it really does adhere to, I know, the setting. It feels almost a little bit real in a sense because it's so committed to being grounded in that area, where it's not just, okay, we're James Bonding over here and over here. It's like, no, this is South America, and this is what it kind of, like, not, I mean, people shooting each other everywhere. I mean, kind of, sort of, no, yes. I mean, they do have the highest homicide rate in the world combined, more than anyone. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. I think it's a good setting for a shootout. If anything, it makes a lot of sense. It's also interesting to see how the gameplay has evolved since the second game, since it was almost a decade since the last one had come out. So you still have painkillers. I mean, all the controls have been remapped and everything. Now RBs to shoot dive, which still feels really good. Again, the reticle still feels pretty good. It's still very difficult to pull off really good shots, even when you're shoot dodging and in slow motion, because the characters are always moving. It's very difficult to get headshots. I guess the biggest difference is the weapon loadout. No longer, gone are the 90s and the days where you could just have 1,200 guns on your person. Max can only really carry 3 at a time, 2 light weapons, 1 heavy one, and he'll actually carry it in his hand. I always saw that in gameplay trailers and thought, oh, that's really interesting. I wonder what the mechanics are there. And it's not really anything. He's just holding onto the gun. It's not a special thing. What is cool, though, is it allows you to dual wield certain weapons like it does in the first game, but it depends on what you pick up. So if you pick up a SMG and a pistol, you can actually fire an SMG and a pistol at the same time. And I've only ever seen that done in Halo. And here it actually feels pretty effective but just in a weird combo, honestly. You can fire a Magnum and a semi-auto, Magnum and SMG. It's a pretty interesting mix-up, honestly. The slow motion works more or less the same. I do like how in this one, if you do a shoot dodge. I mean, it's such a weird thing. But if you're doing the slow motion dodge thing, I do like in this game where if you're up against a wall, you'll bump the wall early and then you're slow motion. So you have to be very aware of where you are dodging. The other thing I do like about it is now you can also dodge over certain platforms. Like you can go over ledges and desks and actually get on top of things like by doing that. And my favorite parts are where you can actually you can dodge over balconies and stuff. And even when you land, you still retain a pretty good portion of your health because just it looks so freaking cool. They wanted to make it worth it to kind of do that essentially. Yeah, you have a lot more. I mean, you have roughly the same kind of heavy weapons. So you have, pump action shotguns, semi-auto, full auto shotguns. You have the MP5s. You have assault rifles, FALs, laser sights, sniper rifles, etc. But there's a lot less ammo in this one, so you do kind of run out more, or you tend to a little bit. So it kind of is very specific. Oh yeah, you have this weapon for this one scenario, like the grenade launcher near the end of the game, for example. And the RPG, which I don't think I picked up. I definitely picked up a launcher, but not an RPG. Anyway. Another addition to this game is there are now golden guns, and it's a weird, cool thing, I guess, where throughout the level, you'll have 3 kind of hidden collectibles. So not just, there'll also be clues that he'll find, and the clues will give you context to the characters that, the setup is that he's protecting a rich and famous family in Brazil, and so you have to basically learn about them throughout these cutscenes and whatever. And you also collect if you collect 3 pieces of a golden gun, then that gun when you pick up in the story will be golden when you use it. It'll have no effect, it's just a nice cosmetic, I guess, which I found pretty distracting. I didn't really enjoy, to be honest. This game, more so than the previous Max Payne games, maybe because it's done by Rockstar, it just feels a lot more violent, a lot more visceral, lot more swearing and very edgy, I guess, in a way, and a little bit more depressing, but still kind of Max is trying his best, where basically he's defending this family. They end up getting hijacked and kidnapped essentially, and even if he's not sure if he's going to get paid, he still goes after them anyway. And he has this whole thing about all the dead women in his life. First it was his wife, then it was Mona, and he can't allow another woman to die on his watch. And it's a very intense game, I would say. It's very intense in terms of the characters, the content. There's drug deals and money deals, and they get kidnapped and whatever, and there's executions, and it's not exactly uplifting. But what I was going to get to before is the tone and the pacing of the game is really interesting, especially in the music. Especially in the first few levels, I definitely noticed this, where you just have a constant beat or a constant sound, and it just elevates and escalates as throughout the entire level. And it's a really just like from an audio perspective, it sounds not really like anything I've ever heard before, which sounds weird to say. Like, oh yeah, if there's anything I could describe it akin to, at least in its feeling, is Spec Ops: The Line. It's that you have this constant pressure, this constant moving forward, which is what I really liked about Max Payne 1, and I didn't like about Max Payne 2 because it didn't have it. Is that Max Payne in the first game, he's just constantly going further and further into this hole with no breaks whatsoever. It's just going to keep adapting and changing and molding and shifting. And this felt a lot like that. While in the second game, they just kind of went back and forth till it turns out that Vlad was the bad guy somehow, for some reason, just like a rabbit out of a hat, And this one, it felt more like, okay, we have to save this member of the family, then this member of the family, then this member of the family, and then this happens, and then this happens, and this goes wrong, and it's a constant falling down kind of feeling, and trying to climb yourself back up or hold on to the ride, basically, which I really enjoy. Yeah, I just didn't like it in the second half of the game where you do recover. There's this whole sequence where you are, I think her name is Giovanna, you kind of rescue her and you bring her, to safety, basically. and you're kind of on the run though, still in the city because you don't know if you can trust the cops, and you definitely can't trust the gangs. And there's this whole sequence where she gets in a bus terminal and she's driving the bus, and I thought, oh cool, I know the last level of this game is an airport, so I thought she was gonna drive the bus into the airport, and then you would do like the final thing, and just keep that momentum going, that crazy momentum that we just gotta hold on and keep going. And unfortunately that didn't happen. You like save her and you get this breath of air, you're able to relax, and this cop guy basically drives you to this drug place, and then you defeat the drug place, and then he drives you to the police headquarters, and you go into the police headquarters, and you basically take out, the main guy who's or one of the main guys who's behind all of this. And so I don't know, I just didn't like that, how in the first half of the game it was kind of like that, where you have to keep adapting, while in the second half they just had more breathers. And I don't know, I like the idea of just total constant chaos and total adapting to everything. It is funny though how Max constantly talks himself down. He's always like, here's a drunk gringo, in South America. And little did they know that we have a right-wing paramilitary army on our ass, while the main guy in charge hired a drunk American to defend his family. And it turns out, yeah, you're actually the fall guy that they're going to blame for everything, how everything basically goes wrong. And there's all this double crossing and other stuff that goes on in the story, which I'll let you get into. Play it. But yeah, overall, it was pretty solid. I was really not expecting that, to be honest. I remember it was one of these things that were hyped up, but it was a time when there was a lot of money in the media and the industry, so I thought, okay, it's a Rockstar game too, so it's like, people who like Rockstar, it's like they can't make a bad game. Even people, like, I don't find Red Dead 2 very much, stimulating, because it's a simulation. And there's people who are like, oh no, best game ever, no questions asked. So I thought it might be one of those, but no, Max Payne 3, within the first half an hour, it absolutely gripped me. I was expecting to play this for a few minutes maybe and just drop it and move on. It's like, okay, that's what has become of Max Payne, and why they don't have a sequel. I mean, if the game is this good and it's done by Rockstar, I would kind of expect a Max Payne 4. Since 2012, it's been more than a decade and we don't have it. And it's just kind of shocking / interesting, because the game is good, it was received well, it's by a huge company that still makes really big games. Do they just not want to do it? I really don't know. Maybe Remedy wants to do something. Remedy they've done Alan Wake 2, so I don't know what's going on there. But this game was good enough that I think it warrants a sequel, honestly. It was just very, very fun, very entertaining. Lots of great mechanics. The shooting never got boring. The shooting always felt really, really good. Also, mechanically, it does feel a little bit like Spec Ops: The Line. Also, just the fact it's a third-person shooter, but it's much more fluid. It's very, very distinct. And I like the fact that the collectibles are so few that it doesn't really entice you to go after them, but I decided not to do it. Oh, of course, I forgot they added this whole like death cam thing where when someone dies at the end of the match, if it's the last person, you can basically zoom in and see their death animation, basically. They also brought back the whole sniper thing from Max Payne 1, where if you shoot certain people with a sniper, or a normal gun for that matter, it'll basically do slow motion, zoom in on the bullet like Sniper Elite, and show you kind of, going across and hitting that person. So there's a lot more cinematic aspects. While the cutscenes don't have the same comic book quality that they did in the first two games, and really the first one was a bunch of actors with filters pretending to be a comic book. The second one was an actual comic book. And this one is, HD cutscenes that are cut into pieces to make it kind of look like a comic book. But really, it's mostly cutscenes. They skipped the whole kind of comic book style for this one. I think it's just a funny little note, I guess, that I'll add here, is that the whole plot line in New York and why he had to leave New York in America is that he killed the son of some guy who belonged to the New Jersey Mafia. And it's just that I just know that the directors and developers based these really douchey characters off the Jersey Shore as someone that you'd want to shoot because they're just, the fake tan, super hair, souped up guys, and that's who you have to fight, and that's why Max has to flee New York, and his friend Paso or whatever gets him a job in Brazil. Turns out though it was kind of set up a little bit, kind of, not really. We'll have to see what it is, what the real reason is. They also do this cool thing where they highlight certain words in the cutscenes. Again, even though it's not a comic book, in terms of writing, I'd say it's still written fairly well. It's just, I don't know, sometimes it can get very oppressive with how depressing Max can be. Sometimes he's very funny about it though, but it's also very intense. I don't know, these games have always felt like they're being written by a very drunk and very pessimistic Finnish man somewhere in a hut in the cold of winter. But no, the game is pretty fun. It has a very vibrant energy to it. Dual wielding still feels good, and it's a pretty long campaign. I'd say it's almost a little bit longer than the other ones. It's still in 3 acts though, and overall still a fairly good composition, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of it for the Max Payne trilogy. I guess it's kind of ended on a good note. Again, I kind of don't know why Rockstar hasn't made a sequel to this, because I think it would sell well, and mechanically it's kind of fun. I do feel though that the writing, because they made GTA 5 right after this, the writing at Rockstar has been very pessimistic, and that's kind of why I really didn't like GTA 5. It was just very, very negative. It wasn't even like, oh, I'm a bad guy, but there's still hope in the world. It's, like GTA 5 was, hope is dead, and we're just here to kill each other basically, which is just not a good feeling, I guess. But yeah, I think this was a great game to kind of end my 360 career on. This is the last 360 game I had, and it felt kind of the most, it felt like the most 360 game possible. But yeah, great, really interesting soundtrack. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's very interesting how they use the music in this game. Even just the main menu is a really, auditorily, a very interesting menu. Just the drums and the beats are something I just haven't heard at the time, and I haven't heard since. It sets a very distinct and interesting mood that almost reminds me of Hotline Miami, almost. But yeah, kind of a relic of the peak time of edginess and companies not caring who they offended and what they do. It was kind of a little bit refreshing, I guess. Anyway, that's pretty much all I can think of at this time, and yeah, who knows what the future of Max Payne will be, but I'm really glad that I've kind of finished it off. It was a pretty alright series, and yeah, I guess that's it. I'll see you guys later.